All right, so today I want to talk about the whole the more and more crazy news that's coming out surrounding the whole Nova Scotia shooting slash arson, all that kind of stuff that went on, and specifically the stuff that went on that we're not being told about, the stuff that may or may not have went on. But again, the main thing being is that I mean it just came out uh, about a week ago. RCMP warrants reveal Nova Scotia gunmen smuggled guns and large quantities of drugs for years from the U.S. This is the case Bill Blair used as a flagship case for what a gun grab from a licensed gun owners. Again, there's a lot of stuff going on here, and it's like I made in the last video. I talked about this. There's clearly a lot of stuff going on, or sorry, that went on, maybe still going on, that the public is not being told about, for the simple reason that if the public was told about it, it would make the government and the RCMP and who knows who else look very bad. It probably would expose quite a bit of corruption and who knows what else. So that is the first thing I wanted to bring up. Again, the other thing to bring up too is that um, I mean, like I've been saying all along, is that how did this guy get away with all this stuff? Like, how did he get away with it? I really don't know. There was multiple people that reported this guy. Um, the whole big cash payment, most likely from the RCMP. Like, what exactly is going on? And again, this video is largely speculation, but largely due to the fact that the government is and the RCMP are clearly hiding some very important information here. And the fact that they have refused to have an independent inquiry into this whole shooting or an independent investigation into what exactly went on just goes to show that I think that's all the more evidence that, again, we don't know exactly what went on or what is going on, but we do know that there is some shady stuff that went on. To what degree, who knows? It may not be that serious, but chances are it is probably rather serious. It is probably rather serious for the simple reason that if it wasn't, then there wouldn't be such a attempt to cover things up, I guess is the best way of putting it. Because again, um, if there wasn't this big attempt to cover things up, then they wouldn't have to hide it. Like again, like I don't believe in the whole "if you got nothing to hide" argument. But again, this is a scenario where there's clearly a lot of evidence that points towards something shady that has gone on. And again, the big point being is that there should be an independent investigation, but I think it's very obvious that that would expose corruption, that would expose a lot of stuff, maybe stuff that the public maybe shouldn't know. But again, some of it could be redacted. That is the other problem too. That if an investigation does go through, like half the information could be redacted, which is probably all the important stuff. So that's the other problem too with this whole stuff, is that they may not want to make it publicly available, which is just another excuse, I think. But again, it is a video that we're rather unsure about what exactly went on, what continues to go on. But I think the one thing that we are sure about is there's some shady stuff going on that the RCMP and the government don't want people to know about. And I think the other big thing too that Tracy Wilson points out here too is that the Liberal government has used this as an excuse to ban a lot of guns, and it's clearly for no good reason. And if it is exposed that the RCMP essentially ignored and essentially just let the guy commit crime, I mean, namely, look at drug smuggling, smuggling guns. Again, we know that he got what, 3 of the 4 guns he used to commit the crime from the States. So how does that not trigger an investigation into how he got those guns? Because I mean, either he paid someone else to do it or he did it himself, and it's looking like he did it himself. And there's no way that in doing an investigation, the RCMP or whoever did the investigation didn't uncover that evidence, and they probably uncovered the evidence of a lot more sinister thing going on here. So I think that's something to point out. That's something that should be talked about. And it's very telling that the government is trying to hide all this info because, again, there's clearly evidence pointing towards crimes and shady stuff going on. There's clearly evidence pointing towards that, but the reality is that um, the fact that they want to cover this up, and the fact that people like Bill Blair and the RCMP and all these kind of people within the government don't want an independent investigation to be done, just goes to show that, again, something has went on and something has continued to go on that would expose the government and make them look very bad, I guess. So again, that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. But again, it's such a terrible situation too. And the other thing too is that, do we not owe it to the victims of this crime? The crimes, I guess there was multiple ones, to figure out exactly what happened. Like, do we not owe it to them? And not to go a little too over the top, but do we not owe it to the people that are having their property stolen for no apparent reason too? Like, again, this whole shooting was the main excuse for the gun ban, but the excuse has clearly been proven to be, I mean, for starters, even if this guy was a legal gun owner in every shape and form, every step of the way, that still doesn't justify banning the guns, like, not even close. But this guy was not a legal gun owner. He didn't have a license. He smuggled the guns in. There were several complaints against him for going back like a decade. Like, this is exhibit A of the government ignoring threats, of the government not using existing laws. And again, this is another thing too that I've seen people talk about. Oh, we need red flag laws in Canada, which technically we already have. They're just not called that, for the simple reason that the RCMP has, if they have reason to believe that the person is a threat to themselves or other people, they have the right to confiscate people's guns. So technically, we already have that. We just don't have them. They're not called red flag laws. We already have that. But the point being is that I've seen people talking about, oh, we need red flag laws in Canada, and it just goes to show just how ignorant these people are. Like, so insanely ignorant that they don't even realize that this guy, he illegally owned the guns. There was already multiple complaints against him. This tragedy was allowed to happen because the government completely dropped the ball. More laws won't do anything when the existing laws weren't even upheld. There were multiple existing laws in place that would have stopped this, that could have stopped this, but for whatever reason, someone or a group of people chose to ignore and to not enforce those laws. And blaming legal gun owners is really just making the problem worse. And the one last thing I want to bring up too is that it does make me happy that this has awoken Canadian gun owners to the fact that things can be taken, all the guns can be, I mean, not all of them, but eventually all of them can be taken with a stroke of a pen, just like that, for no apparent reason. So it is something that definitely does encourage me that, and not only that too, it encourages me too that people are skeptical of the government's story when it comes to this whole thing too. So that's something that's probably the only good news to come from this, is that people are skeptical of the government now and the RCMP. That is the one good thing. I mean, one of the only good things. Um, but again, that's kind of the last thing I wanted to bring up. So anyway, if you liked the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already. Check out all the links in the description. Make sure you follow me on those other social media platforms. Like I say, all those links are in the description.